Hello, and you are listening to FPcast, the podcast for the pursuits where we bullshit about the week in pop culture. I'm Luke.
I'm Jacinta.
And this week we're talking about...
Movies, television, collectibles, video games, comics, books, board games, and more.
Big stones.
Stones. You got some stones, son.
Yes.
5 of the 6 of them.
6.
In fact.
6 of them, yes.
1 for each finger. And your
then a
thumb.
spare.
And 1 on the top.
Yeah.
Big one. There you go. Of course, everybody's talking about Infinity War.
Yes, some countries a little bit earlier than others.
People are not really forming full senses about it. I haven't heard a lot of actual discussion. I've heard more like, oh my god, or what was that?
Yeah,
or,
well,
that was a lot of movie.
That's the thing. You cannot discuss this thing in a non-spoilery way. So I think that's about all you can react. Because we went and saw it on the Wednesday morning, one of the very first sessions of the day. And so it was fun to then, over the rest of the course of that day, and then the next day, seeing people see it for the first time and then react to it. And yeah, it is just kind of nonsense and emojis and people just being quite traumatized generally by it, I think.
And other people very preemptively on the, hey, don't spoil this. If you spoil this, I'm going to come over there. I'm going to give you a spank.
I did actually see, I can't even remember what it was on, but someone on some comment thread for something had just literally gone, okay, this person dies, and I was like, whoa, people are fucking gross like that.
They are.
Like, they did it after Force Awakens as well, just like in completely unrelated comment sections, they would just dump massive spoilers, and it's like, what do you get out of that?
I think it'd be teenagers. Teenagers love doing shit like that.
Oh, but like...
Because they don't have any empathy. They live in a world, like, devoid of empathy. And they can, like, make cruel jokes and do all sorts of horrible things, and then they realise when they get out into the real world, hang on, wait, nobody has empathy for me. Well, what just happened? And it's a cruel turnaround. And that's why, don't have kids. Because you're a baby, like people, oh, look at my baby's so cute. Yeah, but I know what your baby's going to grow into, a person. And people
like most of the time, babies, not even that cute. You're setting the kids up for failure already.
Yeah.
By telling them they're so cute. They're not. They look like little shaved monkeys.
That's right. If I had your genes, parents, I wouldn't be flaunting them around in a new person that you just made.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shallow pools. So...
How did we get there?
God knows. And I'm not going to re-listen to find out. But we are going to review Infinity War. We are going to do a spoiler-free reaction review.
Which I think will not be very long, but we're going to do one.
At the end of the show, after all our other bullshit, we are going to do a spoiler-filled review.
For about an hour and a half.
So do expect that. So the best of both worlds, and we will surely let you know before there are spoilers. So don't worry about that. Rest easy. But people are so up their own bums about spoilers on this thing that I imagine that nobody who is worried about being spoiled is even listening to this until they've seen it anyway.
Yeah, and I think, like, I know that, life gets in the way and not everybody can see it opening weekend.
But children.
But, guys, we had literally a public holiday for Avengers Day.
In Australia, it was, yeah.
It was. We had Anzac Day, we got to honour our fallen soldiers, and then honour our fallen soldiers, and then, it was just a lot of honouring.
It's about remembering the greatest war, the Infinity War.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were there.
Yeah. We had a day off. So really, no excuses, guys.
So for future Anzac Days, are we going to remember the Infinity War? And have an Infinity War service and a moment of silence?
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. As long as it's not like a dawn service, because they're very early.
Oh, no.
And I find them a real struggle to get up and honour our diggers. I mean, I know that they had to wade through piss and shit and bullets and blood, but getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, a step too far.
Look, they did that to make our lives better.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be in the same conditions they were, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty. And anyway, a lot of this thing, the Infinity War, happened in space, so it's fine. You don't have to worry about dawn and whatever. It's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
It's dawn somewhere.
First, though, before we do that little spoiler-free review, just trailers. The trailer of note was Venom. Everyone was talking about Venom. A lot of people, oh my god, god, it's Venom! Oh, and he looks like Venom! Can you believe that Venom looks like Venom? You know that since Jurassic Park, probably, CGI. Like, there's no excuse for it to not look like Venom these days. In fact, it's
And
almost...
like, Venom's not particularly complicated, is he?
No, he's a piece of piss. That's what the other thing I was going to say. He's a piece of piss.
A child
because-
could draw Venom.
Yes, and CG create Venom as well, sculpt Venom. In fact, it seems to be, now that I've been getting into CGI sculpting stuff myself, it seems to be a bit of a rite of passage that everybody does Venom at some point. And there are a lot of great looking Venoms out there. And a studio with all these resources should have no problem putting together a black goopy face with two big white eyes and a mouth. Very easy. In fact, a lot of that stuff is procedurally generated. All that gloop. So, yeah, piece of piss. I'm still underwhelmed. I'm not that excited about this. I mean, obviously we go and see it and everything, but the reasons I'm not excited is just there's no atmosphere or character in it. It's like really angsty and shallow looking. There's not a lot of atmosphere. It feels very, very grounded in a dull way.
I don't give a shit about Venom, and this trailer didn't make me give a shit about Venom.
And,
Basically.
you know, a lot of it is Tom Hardy running around going, oh shit, tentacles are coming out of things and making my life easier. Oh look, I'm on a motorbike and all these tentacles are coming out. I've seen this movie before. It's called Monster Trucks. Yeah. So it's Monster Trucks, basically. And set in San Francisco. Very keen on letting you know that it's set in San Francisco. Director of photography, Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, I don't get why people are really excited about it, because it looks...
Venom's cool because he's got like pointy teeth and he's like Spider-Man, but
yeah, it looks pretty standard. I'd much rather see him being introduced in a Spider-Man movie. Because I like the character, I like the design, I think it's interesting, and, you know, by some weird blackmail thing, you've got Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams in there, so that's good. And
Riz Ahmed, even Riz Ahmed is above this thing.
yeah, and then, yeah, I don't get it. It's funny too, because I accidentally watched the teaser again before watching the final, or the newest trailer, I should say. I'm sure it's not the final one. And there are so many shots that are the same shots, except now they have black goop seats GI'd over them, and they didn't have the black goop before. Like when he's on the motorbike and the cars crash behind him, now it's got the tentacles, whereas it's the same shot before without the tentacles. And when he's laying on the bed going, looking at all possible futures, now he's got black goop all over his face, whereas in the teaser he didn't. So that kind of takes the magic out as well. It's just like, oh yeah. Like when you post a rough sketch of something you're doing online and then go, here's the finished version a bit later, and you go, yeah, okay.
It's like, wasn't it last week when we went and saw Rampage, there was a trailer for a film that I have never fucking heard of a guy that gets like the exoskeleton or some shit. It's called
Upgrade.
Yeah, something like that. And basically it kind of takes over and can punch people really good and stuff. It just reminded me of that. And actually, to be honest, the Upgrade movie looked more interesting than the Venom movie.
It's that, like, just total classic stereotypical white empowerment, like power fantasy, juvenile power fantasy kind of, what if I was an everyday guy and couldn't fight, but then suddenly something happened to me, and then, oh my god, I can now, like, beat up anyone who's wronged me or challenges me or whatever. And that's why those characters, including Deadpool, are huge. Because it's such an easy thing for the misanthropes to get behind and go, yeah, that's cool. I wish I could go and beat up everybody and be the hero.
Yeah, well, I hope there's never a crossover with Venom and the new Avengers universe, because, man, if Doctor Strange's cape ever accidentally fell onto Venom, I think they would have some copyright infringement stuff, isn't it?
I think they would have a little baby.
Isn't it? Spawn's Dark Horse, isn't he?
No,
Is he Dark
Spawn's
Horse?
Image.
Image, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, God, yes. Shit. But that's the thing. I mean, Todd McFarlane, who created Spawn, is the one that gave Venom his signature look.
Oh.
So
he can only draw one thing.
Oh, that's the thing. Like, yeah, no, absolutely. If you look at the way all of that works, you've got Todd McFarlane drawing Spider-Man and being like the most popular artist at Marvel. He gives Spider-Man the big eyes, and he gives that Venom look with the big tongue and everything like that, and he draws all the crazy webbing, and everybody fucking loves it. He tells Rob Liefeld that he's got the best job ever because he's drawing Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's totally fucking easy to draw. So Rob Liefeld goes, you're onto something there, and creates Deadpool. So basically redraws the Spider-Man mask and does that.
And give him guns.
And then Todd McFarlane leaves Marvel to start Image, and the first thing is creating Spawn, which is a character that also iterates on that same mask that the two of them have already like flogged to death. And and it just continues. So all of this stuff, like, it's an inbred family. Like, it's, Venom's not the only one with extra rows of teeth. Everybody does.
I mean,
Because
to be fair, like, if you took like Moon Knight's hood off, like, he's pretty similar too, isn't he?
oh, they all are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I hear the name Moon Knight, I think of
Who the fuck is Moon Knight?
who the fuck is Moon Knight? Ex-co-host of The Book Was Better, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think of Moon Knight too, and I was never, like, around for any of that, so I don't even know how it crept into my consciousness, but
Plus, he's like a Jewish superhero,
Oh, is
which
he?
is another layer of obfuscation for us Australians. And I don't know if I used that word right. I used it right. I don't know if I said it right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So all of that, Venom, he's a icky goo thing.
He's got black gunk in his junk.
Sure does. So, and that's the tagline. So
Wasn't it? No, the tagline's something about... Oh, I don't think it was in that trailer. There was some other trailer that was, like, about being an anti-hero or something. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, which again is bringing up that whole, like, Deadpool kind of thing as well. This idea of, you, like, be a dickhead and,
And get applauded for
and
it.
be rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the internet's been getting a bit cranky about Jenny Slate's pronunciation of... What did she say? Symbiote or something? Symbiote, isn't it? Oh, fuck, now I can't remember. Symbiote or symbiote? No, she says symbiote. It's symbiote.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, though...
It's a regional dialect.
But we say biology.
Yeah.
And we say, like, bio. So symbiote isn't a huge crime in my mind, just in the way that those three letters are usually pronounced.
I mean, I don't care.
I don't even know what I say. I probably would say either. Yeah. But I didn't know that was the case. I tell you what, okay, this is a little divergent, but maybe I should make this tangent, because this is something I've been wanting to talk about. And it's not like we've got much else to talk about in the show.
Okay.
But normally I'm the one that picks on American pronunciations and things, and American culture in general. I'm pretty mean on Americans. And I realised why. Like, I discovered what it is that really gets to me. And it was part of listening to the Judge John Hodgman podcast, which I've been listening to old episodes of, and I've been really enjoying. And I find him to be a very intelligent, wise man. And basically it's like a fake courtroom, and people come in with disputes and he solves them, and he's usually pretty wise. But he's got this thing, and I 100% agree with it, where he hates the idea. He's not a sportsman. He appreciates people enjoying sport and being fanatical about sport, but he hates the idea that liking sport is the norm. That the idea of, if you're a sports fan, that's normal behaviour. But if you're a fan of something else, be it a TV show, a movie, or some other hobby or whatever, even if it's just as fanatical as a sports fan, that's abnormal. That there's some sort of societal conforming thing where we go, sports, normal, everything else is not. That's weird. And it's weird if you like this, but if you're paint your face and go screaming out on a sports thing every day and have a room covered in sports memorabilia, that's normal. So I thought he articulated that very, very well. But on the other side, when he has had people who are making disputes from Australia or England or whatever, even though he's joking and even though I like him very much, he tends to focus on difference and give them shit about their accents and pick on words that they're using. And I end up having to listen to another one. It's fine when he's got Americans on, but the minute... And I realise it's this similar thing. For me, it's this idea where Americans, whether it's in pop culture or on a podcast or whatever, make America the norm. When America becomes the baseline and the way they do and say things is normal, and the rest of the world, and it is a very big, diverse world, that's treated as, oh, your accent, that's weird. Why do you guys call it that? Oh, is that something they do in Australia? That sort of thing. And I think especially now... it's adding salt to the wound, because in America where the president is Trump and all that fucking crazy bullshit, and where teachers have guns and like, to say that that's the norm and everything else is weird, that's what I'm fighting against.
Yeah, and I mean, the Queen's English is the default.
No, but see...
No, it is. That's what they came from that, and they went, no, we are going on a left turn.
I 100% agree with you, except for the fact, and this comes from watching a lot of Scottish shows on Netflix, and a lot of English shows, like English people and British people and all that sort of area butcher the language more than anyone. And if you watch like a Scottish TV show for the first time, like a show from Scotland for Scottish people, it's almost a whole other language, and they're right close to England. But the difference is, they're not pretending that's normal. They're not pretending that they know they're outliers with that, and therefore it's charming. Like, it's an interesting culture, and I think that's the thing. I don't have that issue when other people... Like, there's so many people from all around the world that will use words incorrectly or say words incorrectly because they're just not exposed to it and they don't know. And I have no problem with that. But at the same time, they're not pretending it's the norm. And we've got to get rid of this idea that just because we're saturated with American culture and enjoy American culture and are about to talk about American culture doesn't mean that that is normal. And that's what we talked about with Tomb Raider, for example, this idea of trying to make gun porn a British thing as well. It was like, no. These are weird things that are outside of the mainstream in terms of the rest of the world. You can't pretend that that's the baseline and that everything else is strange. And that is really ultimately what I'm getting at. Because if it was just regionalisms or whatever, and some people say caramel and some people say caramel or whatever.
Vitamins.
Yeah, well, whatever. What the fuck? Because there's ways, I mean, I know with the Australians as well, there's lots of things that we do that is grating and annoying, like the ER turning into an A all the time. I don't say Darth Vader, I say Vader. You know, those kinds of things. So there's a lot, and, you know, if they're ingrained, and that's fine, but to pretend that you're doing it the right way and that your country generally is the baseline and everything else is weird and worth commenting on, no sir, stop it. There you go. Infinity War, should we talk about that?
Yeah.
No spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, do you want to start us off? Crack it off. You don't?
No, yeah. Infinity War is an experience. We'll put it that way. I think I went home and I just sort of vaguely wandered around the house for a couple of hours because I didn't quite know what to do with myself. I didn't know where to put my hands. I didn't know anything to do. It's the first coming together, obviously, of all of our heroes to this point thus far. Thanos has rolled in and is causing some shit, and there's a few sort of unusual team-ups to try and achieve the goal of stopping Thanos unleashing shit.
Yeah, I liken it to it's a huge amount of movie. It's the most expensive movie ever made, and it feels that way. I don't feel there's much compromise in this movie. There's a little apart from this green screen idea, it has been pointed out by Jacinta, and it's true. We just saw it a second time. There are actors that have revealed that they weren't really working with anybody in the film.
Yeah, and 90% of the time they were acting to a tennis ball.
Yeah, and now when I watch the movie, I can kind of see that. I can see where people are in different lighting, and it's a shame, like, when you're seeing 5 people together for the first time and realising that they're all recording their performance separately. But, you know, that certainly didn't worry me the first time I watched it, that all came together nicely. But it almost felt to me, especially that first viewing, not that I was watching a movie, but I was binging a Netflix series. Certainly not in terms of quality, like the production values are big, and this is the most ambitious and has a lot of different locations and places, and it keeps refreshing your interest in that respect. But more in the sense that I know when I watch Game of Thrones, I go, there's so much happening, and I'm prepared to go, here's 5 minutes with this character. Now here's 20 minutes with these characters. Now here's the... And, you know, you could break this into 6 or so 21-minute episodes, and it would be, here is a Guardians episode, here is and it would feel like that. But in this instance, you sit down in the theatre and you binge it all. I realise that I generally am not that excited about Marvel movies going into them, and it's because... And it's weird that Disney does this, But for the most part with Marvel movies, apart from maybe a little bit of a twist at the end and more so after the credit scenes, you kind of know everything that's going to happen in these films. Like, the trailers actually show you a lot of stuff. They always show you third act battle. Like, you went into Ragnarok and you had seen all the major beats. You'd seen the Hulk reveal. You saw them fighting. You saw Hulk fighting Hela. You saw the wolf on the bridge. You had seen everything. As opposed to Star Wars, where they keep a lot more up their sleeve, and you have the feeling that when you're going to go and see a Star Wars saga movie, you're going to get surprised. And that's when people get into that don't spoil it kind of thing. And what was great about Infinity War for me was they finally treated this like a Star Wars movie. And in a lot of ways, I feel it is a Star Wars movie. It's structured like a Star Wars movie. It goes through it's got a lot of parallel action. It goes through a lot of different locations. It's got that saga kind of soap opera beat through the middle, which keeps your investment. It's character focused and it's got surprises. And ultimately, it's a simple story told very well. And the biggest credit I have to give them is, on paper, this is a big CGI purple guy on a fetch quest for 6 items. And you don't imagine for a minute that you will be invested in him as a character or invested in what he wants to achieve. And for me, the movie did a very good job at making me care about Thanos. I think he actually is a far more nuanced and interesting villain than I was expecting going in. And if you can get that right,
yeah, I mean, if you can have your big villain sit down and go, well, this is my motivation and this is why I'm doing it and this is how I want to do it, and you sit there and go, yeah, fair play, Thanos, fair play.
But also just to make him feel like a person in the world. I think for me, we shouldn't sell that short, because if you think about, Steppenwolf in the Justice League movie, for example.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like he's in the scenes, let alone I'm invested in, and I couldn't even really tell you what, he wanted a MacGuffin as well, but there was no emotional attachment to what he was doing or to any of the characters, and he didn't have that performance. And Brolin does a really good job. I don't know if it's just him wearing ping pong balls in a leotard in a room by himself or what it is, but he sells it for me. And it's a great big clusterfuck of a film that it's definitely like a TV series in the sense that there's a lot of assumed knowledge, and it assumes that you have grown to know and love these characters over time. And I think it's a very different experience probably if you go in without. I think it would be very confusing if you
I have
weren't up to date.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I know a few people have gone and seen it and sort of gone, oh, do I need to watch Black Panther before I go and see this? And it's like, oh, you can probably get away with it, but you'll be missing a few bits and pieces. And yeah, that's the thing. I go into these films just happy to hang out with these characters. I like these characters, and it doesn't even really matter what happens. I just like spending time with them. So,
But that's what I mean, and I think people maybe miss the point on this in terms of going, well, do I have to watch those movies? And I would say yes, and it's not because of any particular plot thing, because the plot's quite simple. You can understand, what do you need to know from Doctor Strange apart from he's a guy, he's a wizard, and the green stone manipulates time. That's all you really need to know going in. So it's not that. It's not about necessarily information. It's not like you need to have a knowledge of all the plot, but you do have to have spent the time with the characters to care about them. You need to have developed an interest and a love for these characters, because they all get their moment in this. And I think the film does a very good job at juggling with 30 characters and making sure that they each have a moment, whether it's an action beat or a comedy beat or a dialogue scene.
And really, this movie should have been a mess. Remember when they first announced that there were going to be 60 characters or whatever in these 2 movies, and everyone was like, Jesus, how are they going to handle that? But I think they did really well in pretty much every case of really distilling the characters down to what their strengths are and then giving them a small amount of very strong time.
Yeah.
Instead of just having no one was like a real background character, I didn't feel. Some got more kind of better moments than others, but you just didn't feel like anyone was just chucked in the background and wasted, I didn't think.
No, I agree. And I think in terms of the great thing about the ambition of the filmmakers here and their vision is that it shows the lack of vision a lot of the time with audiences and internet commenters, because people are always, when movies are getting announced, complaining about, I don't know if they should do this, or I don't know if this is a thing, and bringing up all these arbitrary rules. How many superhero movies have we had in the past where people go, it's going to have 2 villains, that's 3 characters, that's going to be too much, it's going to be too crammed. And here's a movie that has 30 characters, and it's fine. It's not a problem. Like, it handles it perfectly, which just goes to show all these arbitrary rules that people have. For me, it's just based on a complete lack of imagination and ambition. It's never about making rules in filmmaking or storytelling. It's always about execution. So people go, well, Spider-Man 3 wasn't good, so therefore you could never have 3 villains in a film. Don't do it. And it's just fucking ridiculous. I saw a headline, which is why we talk about less news and I read less news, because the headlines are so, like, nerd clickbaiting that I just can't handle it anymore. Like, they're making another Indiana Jones movie, and someone's like, well, after Crystal Skull, why would you ever want to see another Indiana Jones movie? And it's like, but you could talk to this same person, they probably loved Logan. And it's like, so after Wolverine Origins, they should never have made another Wolverine movie. You would have been cheated out of something that you really loved. And not to say, look, it might be a piece of shit, who knows? But just because something happened that was bad doesn't mean that you can't do something. It doesn't even mean you can't take the exact same idea and do it well.
And I mean, like, if that applied, then there would have never been a fucking Thor movie after Dark World, because that was an abysmal piece of shit.
Because, like, I don't have any doubt that Marvel could make a brilliant Fantastic Four movie. I don't have any doubt that Marvel would make a brilliant Tom Holland movie with Venom in it. I think all of these things are absolutely possible. And the way that people shut things down, people who generally aren't artists and aren't storytellers, and go, oh, no, you can't do that. I'm glad that this is kind of a middle finger to them in a way, because it takes a lot of things that shouldn't work and a lot of odds against it and cobbles them together into something which, I mean, it's a clusterfuck in a wonderful way. It's the most comic booky movie ever. It's like everything you've ever dreamt of like reading a comic and actually seeing, like going, well, why can't they suddenly go to this location? And why can't this character show up? And why can't we see a big fight involving these 6 dudes and Thanos? But we do. We see it all. Like, it's there. They just fucking went for it. And for the most part, it's a pretty good-looking movie. There's, like, I was amazed at how, like, these Russo brothers, and I don't know a lot about them, but they do a fucking good job, because I'm all about atmosphere, and that was a thing for me in Ragnarok. As much as I love Taika, that movie sometimes has atmosphere and sometimes just looks like it's shot Dreamworld on the Gold Coast. And this thing, like, even the just conversation scenes and everything, it feels pretty good for the most part. It feels epic.
Yeah, and I think the biggest win in this film for me is that 2 characters that I was a little bit lukewarm on coming into it. Like, I thought Doctor Strange. I rewatched Doctor Strange the night before, just thinking maybe I missed something at the time, and no, I still didn't like it. And also, I think Tom Holland's a great Spider-Man, but I'm just not that into Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I really like Doctor Strange in this film. Like, I think if this version of Doctor Strange, not the, I'm going to go to fucking Kathmandu and learn how to make sparklers, that guy,
cry in the window with my shaky hands.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry wistfully looking out at the rain. Guy is very boring, but Doctor Strange, who can do the shit like straight away and look cool and do all that stuff. I like that guy. I would have liked to have been introduced to that guy and just been like, here's a guy, he can do magic. Great, bang, let's go. And same with Spider-Man as well. Like, there was a definite feeling of like real dread, some situations that he got into that I've never really thought that I would kind of care that much about him.
That's my argument a lot with superhero properties, though, is the fans and the creators a lot of the time as well, through some sort of desire, I guess, to take something that is essentially juvenile and try to pretend that it's not, to try and reassure everybody that no, we're adults and this is deep and meaningful and this is good. want to, a lot of the time, completely overdo and overstate and squeeze all these drops out of characters, which are essentially very simple things to understand. So if someone's saying, well, should I watch Doctor Strange to understand this? Like you said, if you just watched this and he just turned up and was doing all that stuff, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
My same with the first Deadpool movie. When he shows up at the beginning in the suit and the freeway and everything, that's some of the best parts of the movie. But then it goes, no, we don't trust that you guys are going to accept this. We're going to have to go back now, and we're going to go backwards, and we're going to show you in a pretty mediocre, unmemorable villain origin story how he became this. And it's like, no, I've got it. And
It's like, who cares how we got here? We just care that we're here.
Daredevil season 2, 4 hours in, and they're going, the Punisher's family were killed. It's like, if this was a comic, these things were coming out in really compressed stories, 21 pages every month, and if a character like Punisher turned up, you would probably know everything you needed to know about him in 2 panels, and then you would just enjoy him. And I think these Russo brothers films have understood that so well. Like Age of Ultron brings in Vision in such an economic way. They just, instead of going, we're going to give you 8 scenes about this guy showing you every stage of his origin, they do that thing with the Hammer, which tells you everything you need to know about him in an enjoyable bit of business. Like, so fucking great. And same here. You don't need to know a whole bunch of shit to understand these characters. Like, a lot of them are gimmick-based, power-based, and you get them very, very quickly. And that is why you can have 30 of them in a film, because they all look so different. You understand what you're watching, what's happening. And that's something that puts me off with the Venom movie. It's that step backwards. It looks like it says, no, in order to enjoy Venom, which is the most visceral reptile part of your brain to enjoy Venom. Enjoying Venom, like you said, is just, he's got black tentacles and teeth and he looks cool. Doesn't mean you need to go through 2 hours of Tom Hardy angst justifying.
I think the other good thing about Infinity War is that a lot of these characters either haven't met or haven't seen other for a long time. So they have these really quick, like, oh yeah, this happened and then this happened thing. And it's just like, okay, well, you could, even if you have watched the films and maybe haven't watched them for a really long time, you're completely back up to speed without having to remember hardly anything. Like, everything is there for you.
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing. You put in 30 characters, you, instead of going, oh, well, that won't work, you have to rise to the occasion and you have to make sure that every scene is there for a reason. And you also have to make sure that things are either funny or emotional or expositional or, like, it has to be there for a reason. And I think this film does a good job at that. I think the catch-22 is, and we got the Ant-Man trailer prior to this film today, no pun intended, but everything's going to feel small. Like, things are going to feel empty. And I hope that Marvel gloms onto this Star Wars model even more. I would like to see them focus on that equivalent of a saga movie every year or every 2 years, and the rest is supplemental. So it's sort of like in comics where you have the big crossover, you have the big universe-changing thing that's happening, and then you have that story rippling through the side stories. Because I just think that way, you can continue to try things, explore things, but you need that big tentpole movie where things are changing and evolving and you have everything there. Plus, they're going to be huge money spinners for them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I would love to see the saga movie in the supplemental format and give us a saga movie like this one where you keep a lot up your sleeve, you're ambitious, and you're going to surprise us. And treat it like Star Wars. Keep it under wraps. There wasn't even a Disney preview screening in Perth this time. No. Because they were treating it, they don't do that for Star Wars. They were treating it like Star Wars. This was a big film that you were going to keep under wraps. There were no novelizations or art books or anything leaking anything out beforehand. It was all...
Yeah, the art book's not coming out for like a month after this thing's released. Like, they're really cracking down.
And it was a tentpole, and it's like a big milestone movie in a time, and we were only talking about this like a week or two ago, when it's harder and harder to have a milestone movie because so much happens and there's so much coming out that the next week you're onto something else. And I think that was the really great thing about this, is that it felt like an event, and I haven't had that in one of these movies for a while because I didn't love Black Panther, I didn't love Guardians 2, I didn't love Ragnarok. And then suddenly everyone's back in a really big, interesting way.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing with the Marvel movies, that it feels more okay to not love some of it. Like that, you know, it feels like you can still not love some of it, but still love it as a whole.
Well, it is a TV series where, you know, some episodes you're going to not like and some you're going to think are great. And it should feel like that. Like, look at how Game of Thrones manages year after year to manipulate everyone. And some of those episodes, you come out of it going, we've just had 3 weeks and nothing's happened, and then suddenly that big thing will happen and everybody's just buzzing about it again and talking about it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And this is what this is doing. But it amazes me that, in a way, when you have these models like Star Wars, you have these models like Game of Thrones, you know how people consume things and how they get suckered into things and what they respond to. And this movie, with its music cues, with its reveals and arrivals and stuff, really feels like it knows what people are going to respond to.
Yeah, like shit, it's been 10 years since Iron Man. There has been so many fucking Iron Mans. I don't even care about Iron Man. The first time he puts that fucking suit on this film, I felt like I could just punch the air with joy. Like, and I don't give a shit about Iron Man.
Yeah, well, same for me with Cap, because and maybe this will be the we'll go on to something else in a second and save the rest of this for the spoiler thing. Again, still no spoilers, but when he first showed up, in that first screening, the audience cheered. I know I don't cheer in films. Like, nothing could make me do that. The only film I can be loud in is The Room, where there's a social contract there where I'm allowed to be. But I was feeling the cheer. And that is an audience reaction that enhances the film for me. That doesn't take away. That was really great. I love that moment.
It's funny, like, that's a moment that's in the trailer. Like, I knew that was going to happen. As soon as you were in that kind of feeling of that building, you're like, okay, it's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Even though I knew everything was going to happen, I still just went, oh, fuck, it's Cap.
It's just a great
I love Cap.
And then I was the same with Black Widow. Like, just when she arrived, I was just like, holy fuck, I missed you. This is so good. And that's it. Everyone's got their favourites. Everyone's invested, and it feels good. So, as if you've been a fan in the last 10 years, regardless of the hits and misses, and everyone has the different hits and misses over that decade, I think this is a pretty worthy victory lap for them, and I think they deserve this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. We also both saw Peter Rabbit. Yeah. Which was something we weren't excited about.
I think we had pretty much panned this based on the trailer. Yeah.
Based on the old worldy English charm being sort of
Americanized.
Yeah. But
I liked it.
you liked it.
I liked it. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and to be like, oh no, wait, no, I hate this now. And it just kind of, like, there is that gross, shitty, pandery stuff where you're just like, oh yeah, no, this is the inappropriately inserted pop song and this feels, you know, shitty, and
the music's pretty...
The music is terrible, but...
out there, isn't it?
A lot of that gaudy, like, all the animals are shaking their booties and having a party is, like, right at the start of the film. And so it kind of gets that stuff out of the way, and... I don't know, I thought the animation was fantastic. Those bunnies were so fucking cute, and they had a lot of little, like, you know, behavioural things and kind of movement animation that was really, really, really cool.
One of my best friends from high school was the animation supervisor.
Okay, that's cool. It was fantastic. I loved those bunnies in a way that I did not think that there was any chance of me even tolerating them. And look, I am a big fan of Domhnall Gleeson. He is swiftly becoming genuinely one of my favourite actors because he commits. He commits 2,000% to every fucking thing that he is in, whether it's a good film or a bad film. Like, look, if he can commit that hard to Crash Pad, he can do fucking anything. Yeah,
I got to agree. He gives it... Domhnall gives it his damn all in this thing. And, yeah.
And it's not like he's... it just... You know, it's a kid's film, but he doesn't treat it like a kid's film.
He doesn't, no. he's definitely one of the shining lights for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as you did, but I gave it like a 3, whereas I was thinking it was going to be like a 1.5 or a 2.
Yeah.
So
I think I gave it a 3 as well, but I got a lot more out of it than I was expecting.
So it was quite charming. I enjoyed hearing Daisy Ridley in there. She had some funny lines. She got such a deep voice when you're just hearing her
compared
voice.
to the other two. Yeah, it was like, whoa, that's the standout. It was funny. I was watching it, and I think this did contribute a great deal to my enjoyment of it, but I was imagining, as I was watching it, like a Voices-esque alternative reality version of Peter Rabbit, where
Voices was the film where Ryan Reynolds' cat and dog talked to him and told him to murder women.
Yes, and they also talked to him as well. And, I was imagining this thing where Domhnall Gleeson's character has a bit of a mental snap, and he's imagining all these bunnies, and he's running around with explosives trying to kill these imaginary bunnies, and sort of Rose Byrne's character is just kind of watching him do all this stuff, and, that was, that added a little layer that was not actually there, but that I put there for myself.
Yeah, okay, so not as bad as we thought, basically.
The fuck Sony meter is in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the middle.
Kind of in the middle. The Venom Sony.
Oh.
So you mean just quivering a bit?
Just quivering. Like, I'm not going to say fuck Sony on the basis of Venom.
No.
Like, I don't think it's either way. I think it's in the middle at the moment.
I just think it's going to be one of those. It probably does come down totally to a matter of taste. Like, Venom looks more like a Logan kind of film, whereas I do prefer, personally, the Infinity War kind of film. That's what I want out of my comic books, because I love that, like, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, 60s kind of stuff. I want big, colourful, crazy adventures more than I want...
to validate your childhood.
The actor's angst for 2 hours and then, like, 20 minutes of the actual costumed character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And speaking of the voices, the director of that, whose name I cannot remember, she wrote and drew and directed the film adaptation of Persepolis.
Oh, yeah.
I believe she directed the the season premiere of Handmaid's Tale. We both watched the first 2 episodes of I can't say it. Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
And not going to really dwell on this TV stuff, but if people are watching and interested and want us to talk more, let us know on the Facebook group, or we might even just discuss it on the Facebook group. But holy
fuck, it starts off strong, doesn't it? And like,
it's not fucking around.
I was already in a slightly fragile mental state after Infinity War, and then the next day I got up and I went, I know what I'll do. I'll watch Handmaid's Tale. And then again, I was walking around the house not knowing what to do with my arms, and fuck, that first episode does not fuck around.
It's just misery porn, isn't it?
Oh, God,
it's like just about putting you through the emotional ringer and just making you feel awful and just making you feel like so fucking wretched about humanity and where things could go if we don't pull up our socks.
Yeah, and the most chilling bits in this, episode 1 and episode 2, where they kind of jump back in time to when things were starting to take hold, and they are they are excruciating to watch as a woman, like having to get her husband to fucking sign off on her contraception. I'm like, no! Fuck that! So Handmaids... still very good, because they're off book now, essentially. Like, the book finished, and a lot of people are wondering where they're going to go, where they're going to take it, what they're going to do, but fuck, this is strong.
It didn't feel like any dip, did it?
Yeah, not at all.
It really just picks up where it left off.
For sure.
And we're still going.
Yeah.
And Westworld also came back. We watched the first episode of that, and I'm really enjoying that, but come on, fucking Nolan brothers, with your non-linear tomfuckery, just this whole, we just want to keep you confused and on your toes.
Yeah. Towards the end of last season's Westworld, I really started to wane, and this hasn't got me back. Like, I'm interested enough, but I'm not, like, if I missed a couple of weeks, like, I'm not going to be...
Well, you'd be fucked.
Well, no, but I mean, if I missed a couple of weeks, like, I wouldn't be sitting down every single week going, I have to watch Westworld kind of thing. Yeah. I could watch a couple in a row, but I'm not gagging for it.
I felt very daunted because I haven't been keeping up with TV, and then I realised, like, there's, like, 4 episodes of Legion season 2 out, and I haven't watched any of that yet.
Yeah, well, did you ever get around to finish watching Vikings?
No.
No, I haven't watched that either.
I just watched the first 2.
2 or 3. Because the first one's a double.
First one was a double. So first 3, yeah. Yeah. It's very, very hard for me to watch things week to week. I lose track, and then it's very hard for me to get back into it. So I was a bit nervous about watching Westworld and Handmaids while they're ongoing.
I think shows like that, it's fine to watch week to week because there's so much to kind of think about and chew over.
And
I think if you watch, I think if you sat down and watched an entire season of Handmaids in a week, you would destroy yourself.
Yeah, plus I tend to talk at work with a friend of the show, Leah, a lot about those 2 shows as well, and I really enjoy that kind of weekly debrief about it. So I thought, no, let's get on to that and catch up. I also watched, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, I watched all of Lost in Space, so there's another thing that if people want to talk about, we can. And then the last thing before we do our spoiler review is What to Watch Challenge. It's still Biopic Month. It was a musician this week. I did I'm Not There, which is the very fragmented Bob Dylan, where the biopic where 6 different people, I think, play various aspects of not his life, but more his persona, including Kate Blanchett playing a version of him, and Christian Bale is in there. And not knowing or really caring a lot about Bob Dylan, I didn't really engage with it that much, I've got to say. I kept getting lost in it, and it was really, once I read the Wikipedia article about it, I understood it a lot better and understood what it was doing. And I always appreciate an experiment. I love people trying new things and doing new things, and I wish I was a big Bob Dylan fan in order to appreciate it more, and maybe that would have been a bit mind-blowing. So really nice filmmaking, great performances, loved what it was trying to achieve, but just didn't reel me in.
I Saw the Light, which is the Hank Williams biopic from 2016, I think, starring Tom Hiddleston and Elizabeth Olsen, and it's a strange one. At the time when I was watching it, I was like, oh god, this is not good. It's a film without a lot of energy to it, not a lot of drive, and at the time I was thinking, I don't think I'm really enjoying this, but it's a movie that has kind of stuck with me. There's bits that I've been thinking about, and I think the main issue with the film is that the guy has an okay story. Essentially, he's a country guy, he gets signed, he's an extremely prolific songwriter and artist, and then he dies quite young because he drinks himself to death, basically, and that's it. And look, if you want to watch a movie about an alcoholic country star, then just watch Walk the Line with Joaquin, but...
Hard to imagine Hiddleston being your pick for an alcoholic country star.
He is the best thing in the film, and I'm not just saying that. He is incredibly good. I think I said last week that I was a bit nervous about watching it because, he sings in it. He learnt how to sing like Hank Williams, who has quite a distinctive yodely country sort of voice, and he learnt to play the guitar, and he lost a lot of weight for it, and I knew how much he'd committed to it, and so I was like, God, if he's shit, then I just don't know if I can sit through it. But no, he is quite magic in this, and he has a really great chemistry with Elizabeth Olsen too. Not so much, their characters are husband and wife, they don't have that much romantic chemistry really, but just performance chemistry. When they're in a scene together, they just nail it, and I think he is absolutely excellent in this thing, and I watched a Hank Williams video after it, and he just fucking nailed it. So yeah, I think I gave it 2.5 maybe. I can't imagine anyone really sitting down to enjoy this thing unless you were, for some reason, a really big Hank Williams fan.
What if you were just a big Hiddleston fan, if it was one of those ladies?
I think so, yeah. As I said, he does a great job. It's a real, seemed to be a real sort of passion project for him, and it wasn't a great movie, but he does a really, really good job. And a lot of the reviews that I kind of, saw afterwards said this is not a good movie, but it is not Hiddleston's fault by any stretch. So, yeah, it was an interesting one, I think.
All right, next week is the final week of the Biopic Week, Biopic Month, and it is a writer And I'm doing Finding Neverland.
I'm doing Quills, I think. I don't think there's any cute boys in that one.
Bummer.
Aw, Jeffrey Rush. Just Jeffrey Rush.
Who's the lady in that?
I think it's Kate Winslet.
Oh, nice. I like Kate Winslet. All right. Well, we're about to do our spoiler talk for Infinity War. So if you haven't seen it, don't want to be spoiled, then absolutely, under no circumstances, continue listening to this podcast because it's very much worth having everything surprised. I think the less you know, the better when you go into this thing. So do bail because spoilers are about to start. Thanks for listening. Go to fruitspursuits.com to find out everything else we're doing, including links to other shows like Dungeons and Drongos, where I DM a rollicking Dungeons and Dragons adventure. Hearing about some people who are like Book Was Better fans, FP listeners that have only just finally started listening to Dungeons and Drongos. I imagine there's a lot more people like that out there that enjoyed Book Was Better or something, but haven't thought about getting on Dungeons and Drongos. I do advise you to give it a shot because there's a lot of adventure there. There's about 35 episodes so far, and if you enjoy it, as people seem to be, then gosh, you've got a really big, fun adventure full of crazy characters and comedy improv and performance, and you'll get to hear me do a lot more than I do here, including lots of crazy Australian voices, including a swearing pig. So look out for that, and Jacinta's in 4 episodes of that as well, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, you can find links, come and discuss on Facebook and everything. We should have a spoilery Infinity War thread maybe when in a week or so, and I would love to know what you think about all these things. So if you haven't seen Infinity War and don't want to be spoiled, get the fuck out because spoilers start now. Everybody dies.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I did watch I Saw the Light the same night as Infinity War because I just needed a little bit of comfort. Emotional grief comfort. I mean, he fucking died in that too, so I was just like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
It's interesting because, I mean, obviously a lot of the spoilers going into this are about who dies, who doesn't die, and a lot of that talk also centres around the sort of meta game, which is contracts and is Chris Evans going to continue to do it? Is Robert Downey Jr. going to continue to do it? They're the 2 people that you're really expecting to go. And, you know, to be fair, you're kind of on the edge of your seat through a lot of that action because of that first time, just sort of wondering, oh, is this person's thing? Because I'd read about a famous scene from the comics where and there's a lot of talk about Thanos being a real badass in the comics and being really difficult character to face. And I love that the movie does a really good job. Like every time someone comes up and fights him, and they make it very smart to show him fight the Hulk at the beginning, that he just fucks them up. And this whole thing in this comic was about how Cap, knowing that he would get the fuck beaten out of him, went and stood up to Thanos and then got fucked up. And I almost thought we were going to see that sacrifice. But
the only reason that I knew that Cap was not going to die in this one is because, and I know it's stupid, but because Chris Evans didn't do the promo trail, there's no way that he would have given up that last promo trail with everybody if he knew that this was his last one. I think he'll die in the next one for sure.
Yeah. Well, you bring up this really great point, and it's something that kind of undermines the impact to a degree, or changes the impact of this movie, is that we as fans too aware of the commerce surrounding everything. So you're able to know that because of, just the tour and everything associated. And in the same way, while Marvel's now doing its absolute best to keep its Phase 4 plans quiet, we know that Black Panther 2 has been greenlit. We know that Spider-Man 2 has been greenlit, and we also know that they've even talked about plot things, like that it's going to be a globe-trotting adventure. And we know that Guardians 3 has been greenlit, and we also know that that was something that was pretty much developed independently. So because of that knowledge, I don't believe for a second that Gamora's actually gone, because I'm pretty sure that Guardians 3 script has been done independently.
And I mean, stuff like, you know, I imagine Bucky is definitely going to come back because Sebastian Stan has like a fucking 15 movie contract or something.
Well, the minute they dust Black Panther, you know that it's all going to get undone.
Yeah.
And then they dust Spider-Man, and you're like, well, and Star-Lord. It's like, you know that none of these deaths are permanent.
But I mean, I didn't mind that because it wasn't like, okay, well, they're dead. I mean, they're obviously not dead, but the big thing is then, how do we get them back? Because Doctor Strange is gone too.
Well, it becomes about your favourites as a fan in a lot of ways. It becomes about you going, this next movie, at least the beginning, is going to be driven by the survivors. So I'm sitting there still, even though I know that I'm not expecting Black Widow to die, I'm going, do not dust Black Widow because I want her to be a driving force at the beginning of the next movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a rough movie for me. 2 out of 3 of my boys bit the dust, and the other one was sitting on his couch watching Netflix eating Cheetos, I imagine.
Yeah.
So I was actually the thing that I was maddest about in this film. And look, it still may happen in the next film. We don't know what is gonna happen, but I was thinking, man, I'm going to have a film. It's going to have Loki, Bucky, and Hawkeye in it. This is my dream. This is all I have ever wanted. And then in the first 5 minutes... Well, no, actually, I was thinking at the after-credits scene, I was like, okay, if they put Hawkeye in that, then I'll allow it. And then they didn't. And I was like, oh, come on. Just throw me a tiny little bone here.
Well, it's interesting because I think that first time watching it, my head is just, like, so many things are running through, and...
Yeah, you're not paying attention to all the little things. You're just kind of going, what?
Yeah, and I didn't have a, like, clear head count as to who survived.
Yeah.
Because I was more about... I literally was going, do not dust Black Widow. Like, that's what I was thinking. And I was sort of watching out for that instead. I was even relieved when, you know, when they all run at Thanos to do their final kind of attempt, that a lot of them get, like, punched and look like they could even be dead, whereas she gets...
Just pushed away.
She gets pushed under a tree and trapped by the tree, but is clearly still conscious. And I was like, thank you. But, what I hadn't realised is that all of the original Avengers survive. So by the end of it, you've got 2 teams, essentially. You've got Wakanda, which is Thor, Bruce, Cap, Widow, so 4 original members. Plus,
and technically War Machine is pretty
who was
original
from, because he's in the first Iron Man movie with a different actor. And Rocket Raccoon, weirdly enough, which means those guys are going to be going around with the Sweet Rabbit. And I do love the team up of Thor and Sweet Rabbit.
Yeah, that was a very unexpected team up that I loved.
It made me really like Rocket again, actually, this movie, because he's still got that thing of mayhem, but it's not just like this gun porn dude from before. He actually is a prickly but likable character. And his appearance on Thor's shoulder, and also his just crazy gymnastics with Bucky is...
that was a lot sillier the second time around, but I still liked it, yeah.
And then Tony is the only other person apart from Tony up on Titan that survives is Nebula, which is funny because a lot of people are predicting her death. And in fact, when we first see her being tortured, I was thinking, this is your one scene.
Yeah.
But now she's going to be... or literally driving things with Tony, because I imagine she's going to be piloting around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's quite big for Karen Gillan to be the focus there. But yeah, I mean, you're left in a movie where we know that reality and time can be altered.
Reversed, yeah.
So it should be no surprise that people come back. Plus, we do not yet know the power of the Soul Stone, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of reversal where it restores the souls.
Yeah, one of my workmates wandered into the office randomly yesterday, and we don't normally talk about this sort of thing, and she came in and she said, have you seen Infinity War? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I reckon that Gamora's soul is in the Soul Stone, and she will have some effect as to, what happens in the next movie. Like, she'll have some way of controlling the Gauntlet or Thanos or something like that.
She's literally seen in the Soul Stone at the end. He's in the Soul Stone.
Yeah, with her little...
Because that whole place is orange. And the Soul Stone is orange. And it has water on the base, which is what happened. When he first got the Soul Stone, he was lying in the same water. So... he does see her in the Soul Stone. So There's definitely going to be some sort of metaphysical thing. I think it's great that these two films are really doing exactly what these crossover events are designed to do in the comic universe, which is to, in a metaphysical way, just mix everything up and then come out with a new status quo on the other side. And that's what's going to happen. But while I still also think that probably Cap and Iron Man are both going to die in the next one, I don't think there was ever any question that they were going to die from magic fingers and going into dust. Like, it's going to have to be some sort of heroic sacrifice.
Yeah, I assumed all along that Cap would sacrifice himself probably for Bucky.
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like his entire character motivation since Winter Soldier has just been protect Bucky. So I can't imagine that would change significantly going forward.
I can't imagine that Tony's not going to have a child just because of that scene, like in a movie which is pretty tight in terms of driving things forward. The idea of him talking about the future and children, and also a name which could be a female or male child, I think is definitely foreshadowing. I don't think it's just time killing like the sandwich talk between Wong and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Which I must admit I missed the first time round. The sound seemed low when we saw it the first time in certain parts, whereas we saw it in IMAX this morning, so I picked up on some stuff that I'd missed.
Yeah. I think, it'll be interesting to see I can't see them bringing everybody back. Like, I feel like that would defeat the purpose of having this big... I mean, I love the idea of it being, a big Disney Infinity universe where you can drop someone in and pull someone out. And, oh, no, they're dead. Oh, but no, wait, they're not now. Because I was pretty, obviously seeing the movie for the first time, the opening scene, obviously Heimdall's killed, and you're like, oh, fuck, okay. But, I mean, really...
And we know he's not going to come back because we know Idris doesn't even really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, really, what further adventures are we going to have with Heimdall? I mean, I was really pissy when they killed off Phasma in Last Jedi, but really, how much more have they got with Phasma? And then, they kill off Loki, and I'm sitting there going, well, fuck, it was actually a really great moment, and... Hiddleston's in this thing for 5 minutes, but he's putting a lot of effort into that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Like, I'm really sad, but, I'm not really that mad. But seeing it again today, and, I'm still not mad about it or anything, but there is probably a good, 30, 40 seconds or so where he is not in that scene at all. And then when he reappears from, a hallway kind of thing. And so I'm like, look, they have given themselves a massive out there for him to either, be on an escape pod with Valkyrie and Korg, or to have transported himself somewhere. Because I know that in Ragnarok they sort of set up the fact that he couldn't transport himself solidly, with Thor throwing the rocks through him and stuff. But in the Dark World, he can do that. So... I think they've definitely given themselves a backdoor that I didn't kind of appreciate the first time round.
All these things, continuity is never going to get in the way of a good story. If someone felt down the track that they could bring him back and it would be a big deal and it would be a big moment, that's great. But I certainly think it's not bad to bench him for a while because he was pretty shitty in Ragnarok.
He was.
And he was pretty shitty in Dark World.
Yeah, and
he was only a villain in Avengers, and then he's just been this weird comic relief thing. So.
Yeah, well, Dark World was fucked, and I think Ragnarok is something we were talking about in the car, that it pretty much caters to Chris Hemsworth, it caters to Jeff Goldblum, and it caters to Taika Waititi, and they're the only actors in that film that it caters to. Tom Hiddleston is not funny. I love him. He is not funny. Tessa Thompson is not inherently comic. And they're, the main characters in this film, and it just really does a disservice to them.
Commits, but she almost approaches it with that sort of distance of, I don't know, I still keep thinking of Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. I think it's a better performance than Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, but Uma Thurman, you can see her going, oh, okay, this is comics, I get it. I'm a villain, it's comics, and I'm being a comic villain.
Yeah.
And I feel like Blanchett does that to a degree, but probably is approaching it from more of that, especially as a stage actor, that, this is Shakespeare. I'm that kind of big theatrical character. I love the balls of this movie because, as we said, before, I don't feel Ragnarok is particularly atmospheric at times, whereas the opening scene of this film is very atmospheric, and it picks up with all the same toys that Taika had, and it really is Dad coming into the sleepover where everyone's been fucking around, telling jokes and just going, oi.
Yeah.
And he just beats the humour out of everybody, and it's such a tonal difference. Like, when you're, oh, you know, here I am in the end of Thor Ragnarok. I've got this little... And then suddenly...
Everybody's dead!
It's like, no, fuck you, comes in and kills everybody.
Yeah, there's a bit later on where Thor mentions that Thanos killed half his people. I'm like, I don't think he killed half of them, mate. I think they're all fucking dead.
I think Valkyrie...
Unless they got in it. Look, there must have been some sort of
Valkyrie's
escape pod
fine.
Because Valkyrie had to have been somewhere and fucking Korg has to be somewhere.
There'll be some comedic deleted sequence that they'll show to promote the Blu-ray or something, which will show you that those guys are okay. I guarantee it.
The thing that I wonder, because the only person that's been missing from even Ragnarok as well is Sif, and it's whether they're going to bother to bring Sif back at all, or is Sif just gone? Like, I don't know what they're doing with her.
Well, I didn't even... It was like 2 days later after seeing the movie where I was even noticed that Valkyrie wasn't in it. I was like, oh shit, what happened to her? And that was only because I was thinking about Westworld. I was thinking, oh, Westworld, I get to see some Tessa Thompson. Whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, so that was a bit of a shame. Although, man, I didn't know how badly I wanted Thor and Rocket Raccoon as a team up, but they were pretty great. So, yeah, so I think while it's a very, very effective, manipulative ending, and I love the title card that comes up during the credits and it fades and it's got sad piano Avengers theme, and I love all that, and everybody in the movie theatre is just sitting there like, fuck. You know, it is all going to get undone.
Yeah, for sure.
So really, when this was all about deaths, I think the only ones you can really count on are probably Loki and Heimdall for the moment.
Yeah, well, I'd say definitely Heimdall. I mean, I said to you the other day, like, I would be surprised that even if the end of the next film, if they didn't leave Loki open-ended. Like, they don't 100% say Loki is dead.
But it's comics, man. You can bring anyone back at any time. Everybody's fucking definitively died and then come back in the comics.
Yeah, and I saw an article the other day that was like, well, death doesn't mean anything in the Marvel movies. And it's like, well, I mean, it does. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm sitting there watching this and going, everybody's going to be resurrected. But fuck, I was really upset when Spider-Man died. Like, that was Tom Holland's moment of being Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. And that's bringing up fucking PTSD, 10th Doctor regeneration shit for me as well, where he's going, I don't want to go. And I'm just like, what is happening?
No, it's still effective, even though, like, deep down you know it's not going to stick because, again, of the comics, you know that he's already doing another movie.
Yeah. So it's just how, like, I don't care if their deaths don't mean anything, as long as they sell it.
Because even Chris Evans, like, he leaves it or whatever. If there's an opportunity it could be like Star Wars, it could be 30 years from now, and it could be Old Man Cap come back and they'll do it. Like, they'd love to do it. But I think that the interesting thing going forward in this next film is I feel like everything we'd been told up until this point was that the current Avengers were going to be featured a lot in this first movie. The second part would be more about the new characters. And whereas you've got all the originals surviving, and we know that Hawkeye's going to come back into it as well. So, and that's the way it should be. Like, if it's their last outing together, I want to see them all together without all their hangers-on.
Yeah.
So that's quite a positive, I think. And then, of course, at the very end, if you stay after the credits, even though a lot of people in that first screening didn't, there is the nod to Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and again, that was another sort of moment that I was like, oh, I'm feeling quite wrecked by all these favourite characters I love dying. And I was like, oh, look, Maria Hill. Oh, fuck. It was just like that extra kick in the gut.
Yeah, that they both went as well. I knew he was going to say motherfucker, or start to say motherfucker.
Yeah, that was a pretty cheap shot, but an effective one, judging by the audience. But, yeah. I think the only thing that seemed a bit weird for me is that, I mean, I understand why they had the Hulk wouldn't come out, because you see Hulk at the start, he gets the piss kicked out of him by Thanos, and alright, he's scared of Thanos and he doesn't want to come out.
I think there's also some thread still continuing with this idea of if I turn into the Hulk again, I won't be able to turn back, that was explored in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just being afraid of Thanos.
Maybe, but there's just that. I mean, there's even the toy that came out of it of Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster kind of thing. So whether it was something that they thought about doing and then reined back in, or... But, yeah, I don't know. It felt weird. It felt like it was building up to that big moment at the end where he busts out of the Hulkbuster and then just gets the piss kicked out of him again.
And there are trailer shots of him as Hulk running through Wakanda with everybody, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That is so... I'm not saying this in a negative way at all, but when I talked about the Star Wars comparisons, that battle just is so Phantom Menace to me. It just evokes that feeling of... in a good way. Like, it's a better battle, obviously, than the Phantom Menace one, but it just makes me feel that third act kind of, we're all gathering on this green plane and we're going to go out there and fuck shit up while other stuff is happening up in space. It's, it relies on all those tropes. I was saying to you before, I think this comes down to less about who died and more about who cried. Which characters shed tears in this film. And I wonder if we can remember. So Thanos cries. Which is great because he's got those
now are we...
big rivulets.
Are we tearing up or are we having tears running down the face? Because I think a lot of characters tear up.
No, I want to see a tear.
Okay.
Star-Lord cries, right?
I don't think he has a tear coming down the face. I think he wells up.
He's definitely well up.
Yeah, he wells up. I mean, like, you know, you start off, Loki wells up at first when he's killing Thor.
Thor cries during his talk to... Look, do you remember when Guardians was announced and people were so anti it? Because as I said, fans have no imagination or ambition. And people were like, Rocket Raccoon will kill this thing. It's fucking ridiculous to have this raccoon. The fact that Chris Hemsworth, as Thor, the God of Thunder, is having a conversation in space with a talking raccoon and he's crying and it works is a testament to how, like... how no idea is a bad idea. It's all about execution. So Thor cries.
Gamora cries.
Does Tony cry? Tony wells up, surely. Does he well up at...
I don't think so. No, I don't think he wells up. I think that might be it.
Scarlet Witch cries?
Oh, yeah. Well, she cries when she has to gank her boyfriend.
Black Widow doesn't cry.
No. She has no soul. I think that's...
Bucky, who's never had a facial expression, now that everything's hit the shit, is smiling for the first time.
Yeah. God, his hair looks so fucking good, though.
It does.
Like, he's been in Wakanda, he's had a wash, it's nice.
It looks like a rat.
Save me, sexy Jesus, for I have sinned.
What I love about that, when Thanos is choking out Loki just looks like a rat. He's scrambling.
He's always looked like a rat. Like, that's his entire... It's his entire fucking MO. But I love... The one thing that I kind of... Like, I liked the first time. I didn't really appreciate it till the second time. Is when Thanos rips the stone out of Vision's head and there's just that shot of his legs just twitching and dangling.
And he gets desaturated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I noticed that the first time round, but the twitching leg thing is just such a, I don't know, like, throwback to, you know, a person like, you know, being hung or something like that. Like, it's just such a visceral death moment, just the twitching kind of thing.
I like his grey body with the white eyes. I think he looks really cool. I think in terms of, you were saying it would be nice maybe if not everyone came back. I don't think there's many people you can lose at this point. No. I think the only ones I think everyone Black Panther-wise is safe. I think there's outrage if you take any of those people out. And none of the Black Panther women got iced anyway. It was just Black Panther himself.
Yeah, we didn't see... I mean, the only other Black Panther character we really saw in that final scene was Okoye. You don't see M'Baku, you don't see Shuri, you don't see anybody.
They're all safe.
Yeah.
We know that...
Oh, actually, you do see M'Baku. He's standing there while everybody else is dusting around him. I don't think he actually goes.
We know that Spider-Man's safe. We know that... I'm pretty sure all the Guardians are safe. The only one that if you were going to sort of slim down the ranks would be Mantis. But she's such a sweet character. I feel like that would just be cruel.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Really, they could go on without Gamora, but I think in such a dude-heavy team, you can't gank one of your only female characters.
No, and she's too strong and she's too good, and I think she's too important to everything that's going on, so I really feel like that was all a big fake out. I think she'll be back. You can't get rid of Groot again. There's no sense. And, and Drax is the best role Bautista will ever have. He's, for me, the funniest character in this film. His delivery is just fucking spot on. And it's so great to see the louder, more obnoxious characters working their ass off to try and get a laugh and being all, hey, cockburger kind of people, and hey, asshole, and him just understating everything and just killing it.
Yeah.
Although, worst performance in the film has to go to Benicio del Toro, right?
Yeah.
Any director just lets him do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, I mean, he's on unit for 30 seconds. The one thing that I'm sure many, many, many people will disagree with me, but I didn't love Dinklage in this, and only because...
It's Tyrion.
Only because he's just Tyrion, and he dragged me out of that moment, because there's a bit at the end where... Not at the end, but the end of that scene where he's standing there and he's like, you will do that, and then you will be killed. And it's just like, ugh. And I was quite happy when they got away from that. And I know a lot of people really enjoyed seeing him in that scene, and that's fine, but it pulled me out of that universe for a second, because it was Tyrion. It was Tyrion with dirty hair.
It feels a bit... it's deliberately empty, but it is a bit empty there in that section of the film compared to everything else that's going on, because you're so invested in different groups of characters bouncing off each other at that point, that although, again, Thor and Rocket still have some great stuff. So I was just finishing my thought. I think, Scarlet Witch is your most likely to not come back. And Vision, as well, could be well and truly done.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Olsen does so many different types of films, and also her character is really ill-defined in terms of a power set, that you think, well, possibly, and maybe as well that Cheadle's kind of done with all of this as War Machine, that we might, but not that he was dusted, but that he might exit the whole thing. He certainly looks like ready to retire. Unless he becomes that sort of... I mean, I don't know if that's particularly fulfilling for anybody, but that idea of being the guy at the base. You know, who does those expositionary sort of...
New Coulson.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. One which they justify because of this leg thing.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine. He still gets to be part of the universe. He comes in, does half a day of work every couple of years, and that's him, you know?
That could be fulfilling.
Yeah.
Fulfilling his pockets.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm interested to see, because I mean, going in, obviously, I had to look at there was odds on betting websites as to who was going to die, and Hawkeye was pretty high up there, and I mean, he didn't die because he wasn't even in the fucking film. But there's that idea and that rumour going around that he's going to come back as Ronan.
Yes.
Who I believe has swords.
He's like a ninja dude.
Yeah.
He used to have a 3 3/4 inch figure of him for some reason.
And I guess maybe the idea is that maybe his family gets dusted.
Yeah.
And then he comes in after that.
Yeah, I think that's a given. I've said before that I don't think Marvel are cruel enough to kill his family, but I do reckon that the only reason he'll come back is because they get dusted, and that's going to drive him to come back. But then I think they'll be restored like everybody else. So Marvel will get best of both worlds. They'll get to do the cruel thing of killing Hawkeye's family, but then we'll get to bring them back.
Yeah.
And then he'll get to walk off into the... I reckon he'll probably walk off into the sunset with his family rather than be killed, just because he's got the family. And he doesn't give a fuck. And he's just like one of those characters you can always, again, bring back later on if you really, really want to. If, the stars align. And
just throw him in a team-up movie or a buddy movie or something. I mean, they're always threatening this Black Widow movie. They'll likely throw him in as an origin thing there. I don't know.
Seems to be more and more likely as time draws ahead. The other surprise was Red Skull.
Yeah.
And I thought for a second, because I know that Hugo Weaving has always talked about not enjoying that and not wanting to do it again, and I thought, fucking you got him back, but they didn't get him back. It's a different actor. It's someone from The Walking Dead.
I don't know who it is, but they Yeah, that was a really good, 10-year callback for that one. It was funny that, as much as I talk about how much I did like the first Avenger a lot, the first time I watched it, because it was pre-watching the Avengers, I didn't know what the fuck the Tesseract was, what it actually did, or anything, and I felt it was such a weird cop-out at the end just to have Red Skull disappear.
It was definitely an open-ended... He had to be dealt with, so they cut off that loop finally.
Yeah, and so it was fun to see him back.
An interesting fake out that's happening there. I don't know if you know about this because of not knowing the comics, and I don't know them massively well. I think I've read Infinity War maybe a long time ago, or maybe I've just read parts of it. But Thanos' original motivation was he was trying to kill half the people, but he was doing it to impress a female personification of death.
Okay.
And she was like a female Grim Reaper, skeleton lady. And when they arrive on that planet and you see that Grim Reaper looking wraith, I was like, it suddenly jogged my memory of that character. And I was like, oh, fuck, are they going to do that? Like, are they going to put this character in there? And I think that's exactly what they want people who know the comics to think for a second, and then it's such a great reveal that it's the Red Skull. So it still has this Grim Reaper kind of look, but they've managed to tie off a loop and sort of make a nod to the source material and give you something fulfilling. And that scene's incredibly interesting as well, just because everybody had theories on where the Soul Stone was, and it was either going to be in Heimdall's, the stone in Heimdall's chest. People thought it was... I thought it was Tony Stark's reactor as well. There were all these theories, and then the movie comes along and just goes... it's sort of like Ray's Parentage, where there's all these theories, and then they just go, oh, it's on this planet.
Yeah,
It's just this thing that...
I'd never spared a single thought to the Soul Stone, to be honest.
Lots of theories. I get asked a lot about it from the kids at school. Like, that's my job description, that I would know where the Soul Stone is.
Yeah, right. I really liked the... that scene particularly because there's just this great fucking perceived exchange of power. Like, you think that one thing is happening, and then you think another thing's happening, and then you realise that the original thing is actually happening, and you're like, ah!
But didn't you think that Gamora is such a dum-dum in that scene? Because you know exactly she's going to fucking get it, and she's like, haha, you've lost you, and I'm like, oh, just tone it down, friend, because...
It's very awkward.
I think the biggest laugh today, though, and it is such a great moment, is, and I apologise, I don't remember her name, the Black Panther lady. That says she was up there the whole... Why was she up there the whole time?
Yeah, so my favourite Okoye moment is when they're like, hey, you going, Banner? And he's like, yeah, this is so great. And he's running along the Hulkbuster. He trips over a stone, and she just gives him the most withering fucking look and I was like, oh, I fucking love you, Okoye. Like, she only does a few things in the film, but every single fucking moment that she has is an absolute winner.
And that's pretty much what they've tried to do for people, and that's good. The other little thing is that people might not know is there was speculation about something in the credits where it says that there's an Arrested Development character in the film. We didn't know where that was. I did see the character today. I'd read an article about it, and I did see it for myself today in IMAX. When Gamora first enters Nowhere, where they're looking at Thanos' back, where they believe he's talking to the Collector, as she's walking in, when they're all creeping in the background behind her on the left-hand side of the screen is Tobias Funk in full Blue Man makeup and his Never Nude shorts. He's in the tube, out of focus, but you can see him there with his moustache in the tube as part of the Collector's Collection, which I thought was pretty great. And the other big background thing to look out for is...
Oh, we will deep fry your kebab.
We will deep fry your kebab.
Like, okay, either that set dresser is the biggest hero in the Marvel Universe, or how did they miss that? Like, it's quite an emotional moment of Vision and Wanda kind of talking about, are we going back? Are we going to commit to each other? What's going on here? And there's this big fucking sign that says, we will fry your kebab.
They're looking through the window at the news report.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are they? You're looking at the aliens and, oh my, Tony Stark missing, and then we will deep fry your kebab is a big sign taking up half the screen to her left. Yeah. So
magical.
Oh, can that be the new Tinkety Tonk?
It's a little bit wordy.
Can't we say... In fact, are we done here? We're pretty much done, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, there's so much we could just be talking about. And what about when that happened, and what about when this happened?
What do you think? Okay, so if Cap dies in the next one, or leaves, or whatever happens, obviously they've left a lot of options open for replacement, or two options for replacement, because canonically, yes, in the comics, there is both a Bucky Cap and a Falcon Cap at various points in the lineage. So it's got to be Falcon Cap, right?
I am 100% on Falcon Cap. I think Bucky can have his own identity without that, as White Wolf or whatever the hell he wants to be. But I think Cap needs to be more straight-laced. And
I think it makes sense, being that Falcon is modern military.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's just a passing of the torch from the past to the future, really.
And that Falcon Cap costume, the Flying Captain America, is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think Black Panther has shown us that it's a really good time to have a Black Captain America. I think that would be very cool.
And I think that they have kind of walled themselves in a lot with Bucky. Like, you know, you can't have Captain America not having a facial expression. Like, I feel like he needs to have a facial expression.
No, he's more of he's the sidekick.
Yeah.
And he's more of that anti-hero. Plus, I think that what has been really wonderful about Captain America as a character, which I hadn't anticipated when they first... Because when they first were like, we're going to do Thor movies and Captain America movies and stuff, and I just thought, that's crazy. Like, how is this going to work? And, you know, we were certainly a lot closer 10 years ago to 9/11 and to the war in Iraq and all that sort of stuff. And that was when I think a lot of us were sort of beginning to question America and what America stood for and that kind of sort of toxic invading country. And what they've done nicely with Captain America in the films is made him more a voice for the people and made him more sort of suspicious of government and things that are going on, and made him more countercultural. And I think it's far more empowering and better than having another like white guy putting on the thing, to have somebody who is really more at the forefront of the fight, someone who has a right to be angry and want to fight for justice.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think it would be really cool. Anthony Mackie doesn't actually have a lot to do in this film.
No, not really.
But I would love to see him take over. He would definitely be my choice as a new Captain America.
Yeah, and he's got so much charisma. Mackie has so much charisma, and that's just, you know, that's what you need with superhero characters. You need them to be incredibly watchable. And that's, you know, that's what it comes down to. And I think, as much as I love Bucky and Sebastian Stan and everything, Falcon is far more watchable.
Unless Haley Atwell wants to do it, and then fuck off Mackie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even I would, yeah. Everyone's a bit like, okay, well, if we're resurrecting everybody, Peggy's grave's over there. Like, how far back in time are we going? Yeah.
Yes. So...
And can we resurrect Agent Carter, the TV series, while we're fucking at it? Can we have that back too?
And, yeah, and I think Iron Man... There'll be a new Iron Man.
What's that new... Is it Iron Heart or something? The new Iron Lady person?
I don't know.
There's like kid lady Iron Man, I think.
This young black girl.
Yeah. And I think it's called Iron Heart or something or other. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they got lots of options there in terms of what they can do. I think it'll probably be a character we haven't seen yet. I don't think there are many characters that we've currently got that need to be iterated too much, but I think taking on, you know, that idea of the Avengers and having Captain America and the precedent that's set in the comic, and just the fact that you would enhance what Falcon's already got and have this flying red, white and blue dude, yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Because that's one of those things, even if you're not like a particularly outwardly patriotic person for anything. Like, it's like seeing the Iron Patriot armor. It looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, interesting. And we've got till May to wait. So we've got March, we have the Captain Marvel movie, which will be set back in the 90s and will tie into what's...
Ronan the Accuser, isn't it? Fucking Lee Pace is back, boy.
Is he?
Yeah.
The Skrulls are in it, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's Ronan the Accuser, and then it's like Nick Fury, and I think Coulson and Maria Hill, and everyone's back in that one, I think.
Isn't Mendo's in it? Mendo's the bad guy.
Is he?
Yeah, pretty sure. I think he's like the Skrull leader dude.
Fuck yeah. Oh no, he's going to be makeup and everything. Well, that's fine.
Yeah. More dad. I mean, Thanos is a dad. He's a space dad. Can we agree he's a space dad? He's got kids. He's a bad dad. I mean, he does throw a kid off a cliff.
That's fair, yes. And torture the other kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space dads.
Well, he's not like, okay, as far as my classifications of space dads go, he's not my space dad, but he's a space dad.
You didn't find him a little bit hot by the end of it?
Nah. Sadly. You know, it's funny. This is a film where, like, I would bone down with pretty much anyone in this film, except maybe, like I'm not really into Drax, but pretty much anyone else, I think I'd be happy.
So no Drax. What about Don Cheadle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I had to rank them, Don Cheadle wouldn't be high,
But
why not? Yeah, I'd probably...
you could spend the night in your hotel room on duh.
Woo. Yeah, I'd probably, like, as much as I hate to say it, probably would tap Cumberbatch.
Crikey.
If I had to. You know, like, that's the thing. Like, obviously, they are ranked. There is a ranking of who I would rather do more than other people, but I feel like I wouldn't be physically repulsed to have a crack at pretty much anyone in this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously... Oh, no, Vin Diesel. Okay, no, Vin Diesel is off the list. He is off the list. And as long as we're talking about, you know, like, Bradley Cooper and not the furry Rocket Raccoon, I would not bone down with Rocket Raccoon. I would with Bradley Cooper.
Probably a lot of people on the internet that would, though.
Definitely. Have you heard the fucking... Going at the Venom trailer, like... There's this whole thing where everyone wants to fuck Venom and everyone wants to... Obviously...
Well, they should watch Monster Trucks.
We knew that everybody wanted to fuck the fish man from Shape of Water, and, like, people want to fuck the clown from It. It's like, what the fuck? Just pump the brakes, y'all.
I don't think it's great. I mean, this is like women basically doing what men have been doing for years, like with their Lola bunnies and all that other bullshit.
Yeah.
Just like going, yeah, I want to fuck a fish man.
Do you want to fuck a fish man? People are talking about the fucking robot in Lost in Space. They want to bang that too. I'm just like, oh Lord.
That's weird.
Lord.
Well, that is a guy in a rubber suit, so I mean, that's a fetish, right?
I guess so.
Whew, all right, so
We nearly did a whole nother show.
who do you want to fuck in Infinity War? Let us know, and let us know in order as well. Rank the 30 characters in order.
Should we?
For yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I know Thor will be quite high on your list, I think.
Yeah, I had some man crushes in that.
Yeah.
Thor is pretty amazing, really. He's come a long way as a character. That's a really
He really
interesting
has,
journey.
yeah.
When you think about that first Thor and you think about where he is now,
It's taken them a long time to get a handle on who he is.
and it's just perfect now. Like I again, understated humor. Like
I think, well, now that they've worked out that Hemsworth is funny,
like when he
this is where he's at.
I really love when he talks about when you think he's gonna do the typical go up to Gamora and your
Dad killed my brother.
and do the big and instead he tells that
It's
story
about Hitler, yeah.
and goes, well, that's life, isn't it?
And then just walks
and
off.
you think yeah, you're and Sweet Rabbit and this is my friend the tree.
It's such a special skill, isn't it? To
Yeah.
just be like funny like that, I think. To really have that, how people perceive you versus what you can do. And I think for years people never knew that Chris Hemsworth could do that.
Well, he and I was saying to you in the car as well, there's this thing that the Russo brothers do for me, which I really enjoy, is, and I think Civil War does this very well, is that the humour often happens during action and really big heightened moments. Like, you're seeing something really cool and then someone says a one-liner that's really funny during an action scene. And that's great, whereas Ragnarok was a little bit more pantomime-y, where it was like,
Yeah.
now we're just going to watch Jeff Goldblum be funny in a scene, as opposed to things coming out when you weren't expecting them. Because when these things are thrill rides, there's something so much fun about being on the edge of your seat during an action scene going, oh, fuck, who's going to live, who's going to die? And then someone cracks out a line that makes you laugh. Like,
yeah, there's a bit in that opening scene that I didn't quite catch the first time round where Thor's like, we haven't got the Tesseract, that was destroyed on Asgard. And then Loki magics it out and he just mutters to himself, you're an awful brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So, fucking great bit of fun. And in a very crowded marketplace, it's nice that a big blockbuster can come out that still feels like an event and feels like something that you want to talk about and speculate on, and that everyone will have a different favourite character, and everyone was more like emotionally distraught by one thing, you know.
Yeah. Like, people are so passionate about this thing because, you know, it's a little bit of everyone's favourite ice cream flavour.
Yeah.
You know, you can pick your favourite thing out of this and it may be different to somebody else's favourite thing, but at the end of the day, everybody has a good time. Or everyone feels emotionally crippled by the end of it.
Give me shit sometimes for the ice cream analogy, but there are two characters have their own ice cream flavours in this film.
They do, and they debate which one they like better. Yeah.
I would be getting that Black Widow ripple for sure.
Ew.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. You already did the spiel before, so until next week, we're gonna deep fry your kebab.
No, too long.
Fuck off.
Too long.
Fuck off.